And we are live.
Okay, thank you very much. So I call to order the March 11, 2021 meeting of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. Margaret Duker, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Chair Randall. Councilmember Snyder. Chairman McKay.
McKay here.
Chair Wheeler. Chair Wheeler.
Yes, here.
Board Member Crystal. Mayor Wilson.
I'm here.
Mayor Davis Younger.
Present.
Mayor Rochelle.
Here.
Mayor Meyer.
Here.
Senator Boyko.
Here.
Delegate Watts. Delegate Ram.
Delegate Rome is present.
Ms. Hines.
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Mayor Burke.
Here.
Ms. Quivel.
Here.
Mr. Horsley.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Snyder, we do have a quorum now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chair Randall is at a budget hearing tonight, so you're stuck with a very poor replacement. Yours truly. The first item on the agenda is adoption of resolution 21-03 to find need to conduct meeting by electronic communication means during governor's declared state of emergency during COVID-19 pandemic. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the resolution. Please identify who's making the motion.
So moved, Delegate Rome.
Right, and the second?
Second by Jeanette Rischel.
Thank you. We'll follow Chair Randall's approach, which is I'll call for anyone voting no or abstaining. Otherwise, it will assume will assume that everyone supports the resolution. Does anyone wish to oppose, vote in opposition to the resolution, or abstain? Thank you very much. That resolution passes unanimously. Before we go on to the business before us, and I do note that the president is scheduled to speak at as I understand it, 8 p.m. tonight. We have important business to do, but it's up to us as to how rapidly we pursue that. I also thought it would be appropriate to take just a minute to reflect on the past year, the losses that we have sustained, the heroes that have emerged, and the good fortune we have to help emerge from this dark night into a much brighter future that we in our own way can help make even brighter than the world and the country and the region that we saw before the pandemic. So I thought it might be appropriate to just take a minute to reflect on all of that. All right, thank you very much. I want to also announce that this is Helen Cuervo's last meeting with us. And I want to thank her especially for the years of dedication, commitment to our region, and the cooperation that we really have accomplished for the benefit of everyone in the public. So Helen, just an expression of appreciation for all of your great work.
Thank you. So kind.
All right, on to the minutes of the February 11th, 2021 meeting. Is there any discussion? Any questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve. Boysko.
Is there a second?
McKay, second.
Thank you. Any, again, any discussion or questions? All right, so we'll take a vote on it. We'll assume that unless you object or you abstain, that you're voting to approve the minutes. Does anyone wish to object or abstain? Okay, thank you very much. The minutes are unanimously approved. Moving next through the agenda to presentations, we have first Mayor Wilson, who will present on the Potomac Yard Metro Station project status update. But I understand that in addition to his presentation tonight, Mayor Wilson is celebrating something else, like his birthday.
It is my birthday, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Well, we wish you all the best, and it's so nice of you to share your birthday with us.
I was we snuck in an outdoor dinner at our local restaurant, and we were racing back in order to get here. So, but we made it back right on time. So, thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to present about an extremely exciting project for the City of Alexandria, and one that the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority has been a critical funding partner for us. And I thank you for the opportunity. I will try to be relatively brief. There's a lot of slides, but I'm going to try to get through them in about 10 minutes. I know Chairman McKay's attention span is relatively limited, so I want to try to get it done as quickly as I can.
But his hair is long and it's on the top of his head.
You're gonna hit me on my birthday too, Jeff. That's rough. All right, let's go on to the next slide. So I think there we are. Okay. To give some background, I mean, to consider this is a project that we have been talking about in the City of Alexandria for a quarter of a century. This is a transformational project for the northeast corner of our city. And for those of you who remember the history, this started with a fight by the City of Alexandria to prevent then Governor Wilder and Jack Kent Cooke from putting a stadium on this site that would have been the home to the Washington football team. And so while we were fortunately able to avoid about 2 decades of losing seasons by the Washington football team, we also were able to unlock really an economic boon for the City of Alexandria. And that's why we're very excited that Metro is going to be the centerpiece of that economic growth. This is not only one of the largest transportation projects the city's ever undertaken, it's certainly one of the largest economic development initiatives. And up until a couple years ago with some of our sewer projects was the largest environmental initiative the city had ever undertaken. So this is an integral project for the city's future. MVTA's investment has been just about $70 million, which I'm going to talk about the return that you're getting for that investment. But MVTA has been with us not only in a significant fashion, but also very early on, which was very important to making this project happen. Where we are today is this project is under construction. We are scheduled to open this station in about a year. And we're very, very excited about that. As of this week, the station, the platform, the AC switchgear, the North Pavilion construction are all under construction. Both trusses of the pedestrian bridge are now over the CSX tracks. For those of you who know, working around railroad tracks, that is a particularly challenging situation. And so we're very excited to be at this place. If we can move to the next slide. Let me talk to you a little bit about the funding of this project. There we are, that slide, there we go. The budget obviously is a significant one, $370 million. It is made up of a variety of different pieces. The city has $200 million. I want to talk in more detail about where that $200 million comes from, because I think it's an important story of this project. MVTA is in, as I mentioned, for $70 million. The Commonwealth provided a $50 million loan as part of the Virginia Transportation Infrastructure Bank. And then most recently, as part of the Amazon incentive package, $50 million combined from DRPT and CMAQ funding was allocated in order to support an additional entrance, a southern entrance, southwestern entrance for the station. Let me flip to the next slide now. So I think one of the most unique parts of this project is how we have used the value of development in Potomac Yard to finance this project. We know Metro generates economic growth, and in Potomac Yard, it is going to generate billions of dollars of development in the yard. And what we have basically done is we have used the value of that development to pay for this Metro station. And so we do have a special tax district there. So North Potomac Yard has a special tax district that generates $25 million. over time, and that is a 20-cent additional mill rate for the properties in North Potomac Yard. But then we're also using the tax increment, the portion of tax revenue that is generated in addition to what, or beyond what is required to service the development in the yard, and we're using that to finance these bonds. We did issue a very large bond issuance to help finance this, a 30-year general obligation bond in December of 19. It was our lowest ever interest rate, benefiting or utilizing our double AAA bond rating. And we're now going to use those revenues, those tax revenues, both the special tax district as well as the tax increment, to pay off that debt over time, as well as pay off that VTIB loan that I mentioned. If we can move to the next slide. So obviously, there's a significant return on investment for MBTA, for our city, and for the region. We are giving a new metro station to the system, which is obviously very beneficial for everyone in the region. But this is very much a catalyst for transportation, for economic growth, and the overall community. If we can move to the next slide. So, this is an area that is perhaps the most transit-rich area of our city, and benefits not only what's going on in Alexandria, but across the border in Arlington and Crystal City. We put the region's first bus rapid transit system on Route 1, connecting Arlington to the city of Alexandria, and that's already running on Route 1, what's called Metroway. We already have existing dash routes that connect this area. They will be reworked and expanded as part of the opening of this metro station. This was a project, Transit Corridor A, which is what became Metroway, was something that was financed by the city using federal funding in partnership with our friends in Arlington many, many years ago. And so this is one of those situations where decades of planning have come together all at the same time, as Metro and Metroway and all the bus service that we have in this area is going to come together with a lot of the pedestrian and bike infrastructure that we put in place in this area. If we can move to the next slide. I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the economic development that this project generates, because I think it is enormous. We said from the beginning, that any new development, any increased density in this area had to come with a plan for a metro station. The council back, 15, 16 years ago, basically provided an invitation to the development community into the city to create a plan to use that development to finance the metro station. And that's ultimately what we got. And I think you see before you the incredible difference in economic value that is being generated by the metro. And this is already happening. This is not waiting until the metro station is open in order to see this development occur. This is development that has occurred in anticipation and expectation of the metro. So it has had the economic impact that we were hoping we would see. And that economic impact is happening in the walk shed of the metro station, which we're very excited about. You can move to the next slide. And then we had some luck. Obviously, I would love to say that back in 2008, when we were adopting our transportation master plan, and we were laying out a vision for Potomac Yard Metro here, we would say, gosh, we're going to have this innovative company, Amazon, that's going to come to the shadow of this area. We're going to be able to bring Virginia Tech's innovation campus here. I would love to be able to say that was always in the plan and always the vision, but we had some good luck here, where we've been able to work with property owners in the area, work with our partners in Arlington County, as well as with the Commonwealth, to really take advantage of an incredible opportunity. And that opportunity is now going to be reflected with a new Virginia Tech campus that's going to be here right adjacent to this metro station. We have a number of corporate tenants who have already come in with organizations as well, that are all coming in to this vicinity. And so this has done what we expected it to do, which is to be an economic engine for the city. If we can move to the next slide. This gives you an idea of where we are. As I said, this station will open about a year from now. This has been a long time coming, but we started with a notice to proceed with Potomac Yard Constructors, which is the consortium that is doing the construction, back in September of 2018. If you go by there right now, either on the metro or you go by in person or drive by, you'll see there's an enormous amount of construction going on at various sites. I'm going to have some pictures here at the end that show you what your investment is actually financing. If we can go to the next slide. As I mentioned earlier, as of March 7th, both of those pedestrian bridge trusses are installed, which was a very large milestone, and that just happened a couple days ago. We can move on to the next slide. I'm going to show you some pictures of all of this when we get going here, but the components that you're going to see, you'll see the head house, the mezzanine. It's starting to look like a metro station. You know, I had the opportunity to do a ribbon cutting in an adjacent building a couple weeks ago, and we were able to look over the project, and it's an enormous construction site with tons of construction folks who are out there working on a daily basis. It's really an enormous undertaking. So, all right, move on to the next slide here. All right, and so we're going to take a look at the station head house. This is a rendering. First of all, this is what ultimately this is going to look like. You know, one of the challenges we had in this project was it's a tricky site. You are along the George Washington Parkway, and so you have some scenic easements that had to be worked around, working with our National Park Service friends. We had wetlands that we had to work around that were on property here. We had some land transfers, a net benefits agreement with the National Park Service. This was a difficult project that had to be worked through. If you're bored, take a look at the federal EIS document, the final EIS document for this project. You will see just the breadth of federal, state, local agencies that were all involved in this project over the years that it was going on. It was not an easy process before we got to the place of doing construction. And so it just gives you an idea of the complexity of trying to make this happen. It's a good looking metro station, and it's a good looking metro station because of some of those constraints. Let's move on to the next slide. This gives you an idea of the station platform right now looking south. You're seeing the initial walls of that platform. We can move to the next slide here. Another view of the station platform with walls and the decks poured. One deck on each platform has remained open, which allows the installation of the equipment in the service area. And as of March 8th, the two remaining sections of deck have now been poured. We move to the next slide. Here's the station head house and platform. This gives you a view of the platform and the station, which shows you how that's going to be viewable and visible from the platform deck. And we'll move to the next slide here. This is the station head house. You know, as you can see, there's trains going by. And I think, again, one of the other complexities of this project is that, you know, we are building right next to active track. And ultimately, as we get closer to the end of this, we will move the functioning track into the middle of the station, and you will have trains going through the station while they're completing the construction. So just again gives you an idea of the complexity of this project and how challenging it is to build an inline station. During the history of Metro, we have not built many inline stations, and there is a reason for that. Right, move to the next slide. Now we have the station head house looking north. They're actually pouring in this shot in concrete in the columns, in the mezzanine columns. So these are the columns that will ultimately hold it all up, and they rebarred it and then poured concrete in the middle. Move to the next slide here. You see some mezzanine walls being poured again. We can go to the next one. This gives you some shot of the mezzanine walls again in the station head house. We'll go to the next one here. You're now looking at the station head house, and you're looking at mezzanine and the scaffolding there on the mezzanine walls. And we'll go to the next one. And this is looking south again, another shot of the other side. And we'll go to the next one after that as well. All similar perspectives on the same shot there. If you go to, let's see, you're a little ahead of where I was. Go to 26 right there. And so you're looking here at the AC switchgear building. This is again, the concrete along the AC switchgear building. This is, again, there's several sites as part of this that will all get kind of drawn together, but it gives you an idea of again, the complexity. And you'll also see on the other side, in the background of this, you see some of the construction that's underway in Potomac Yard, in addition to the metro station. There's a lot of stuff happening in Potomac Yard right now. Let's go, you're on 28, good. So this is the south conduit. And what they're doing now is the crews are backfilling over these duct banks that were already created. And so you're taking a look at that. We'll go to the next slide, give you another perspective of that. In here, they're doing power and communications work right over that duct bank. And let's go to 30 now. And so what you're seeing here is they're actually removing the existing track, which is going to allow the installation of power and communications duct banks, and then they will cover it back up. Let's go to the next one. And there you have a perspective of the crews down there. And let's go to 32. So this was we had a big milestone over the President's Day weekend where they did 3 of the 10 duct banks, and you can see them. They were working throughout the night. We asked for some patience from our neighbors there to allow them to do a lot of that construction overnight, and they were able to make some significant progress. And you can go back to 33 now. You can see more of that same work over that President's Day weekend. 34, we start to look at the knuckle pier and pedestrian bridge, and flip to 35 as well. This is you see them beginning to put those piers in place. 36. This is part of the pedestrian bridge coming in place. And 37, you see some more of that, and the pedestrian bridge trusses. And we can kind of move through quickly through these similar perspectives. 38, you see VRE coming through there. Again, showing you the proximity of all of this to what's going on. 39, we'll look at the North Pavilion real quick. This is the foundation for the North Pavilion for the project. You can flip to 41 as well, showing you other sides of the North Pavilion. 42 shows you what it's ultimately going to look like. As I said, this is a good looking metro station. Definitely better looking than anything in Fairfax County. 43. There you go. You see the foundation of the North Pavilion. And 44 shows you another perspective. 45 shows you the other side of the North Pavilion and what that looks like. And again, we spent a fair amount of time on the design as we went through this process. 46 shows you, as I said earlier, some of the Amazon incentive money that came, the $50 million that we received from DRPT, as well as CMAQ money, financed the Southern Pavilion, which provided a south entrance, which connected by a pedestrian bridge up to the North Pavilion. And this shows you where that landing is going to be. And so this is showing you across Potomac Avenue from Glebe Road. And if you click to go to 48, you'll see what that ultimate Southern Pavilion is going to look like. And again, it's an entrance to the station. Ultimately, people connect into the other side. Go to 49, you'll see what that view looks like. 50. Again, this is site clearing now for the rest of that South Pavilion. And that pretty much is it. So let me just say, I mean, as I said at the outset, this is a transformational project for the city. We have been very appreciative of the money that MBTA has provided. This was actually resources that we originally planned the first iteration of MBTA before the bond validation, the litigation early on, and when that went away, and ultimately MBTA, one of the earliest projects back for the city was to help us do the feasibility study that ultimately led to this project. And so the large amount of money that MBTA provided helped our contract with Potomac Yard Constructors and helped make this project happen. And so MBTA has been a partner from the beginning, and they are getting us to the finish line, and we are very appreciative of the support, and we're excited to celebrate the opening of the station in about a year. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for going over a little bit on time, but as you can tell, we are excited to see this project come to fruition, and appreciate the partnership of the region in making this happen. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Wilson. Does anyone have any questions for Mayor Wilson?
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Next item is a presentation on National Landing. And we wanted to recognize Mr. Jay Corbalis with JBG Smith. Mr. Corbalis?
Well, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfectly.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening to the members of the authority. I appreciate you having me, and I'm excited for the opportunity to share our perspective on the transformation that's underway for mobility in National Landing. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, my name is Jay Corballis. I'm with JBG Smith. JBG is a Maryland-based real estate investment trust focused exclusively on transit-oriented markets within the DC region, including National Landing. As you can see from the map, we have a significant presence in National Landing, where in addition to our role as the development partner for Amazon and Virginia Tech, we control 6 million square feet of existing property and more than 7 million square feet of future development. For that reason, we're also involved in transportation. Our CEO, Matt Kelly, serves on the Transportation Committee of the Greater Washington Partnership and co-chairs the Transportation Committee, the Federal City Council. Our Executive Vice President, Andy Van Horn, co-chairs the board of the National Landing Bid, while I serve as the co-chair of the BID's Transportation Committee. Next slide, please. Thanks to decades of strategic investment by the NVTA, Arlington County, the Commonwealth, and others, National Landing is at the forefront of urban mobility, with more than $4 billion worth of projects planned or underway. With so much going on, it can be hard to keep track of everything, even for me. And so in order to help better tell this story, we worked with the BID to create the Mobility Next report, a copy of which was included in your packets this evening. The report provides a snapshot of each of the key projects planned for National Landing, and more importantly, it describes how those projects collectively will make National Landing America's most connected downtown, meaning that when those projects are complete by the end of the decade, no other place in the country will offer as many modes of transportation going to as many places within the region than National Landing. This is truly exciting, and again, the result of decades of strategic investment and planning and support from the NVTA and others. Next slide, please. But today I want to focus on two projects in particular: VRE's planned Crystal City Station and the proposed CC to DCA intermodal connector. Before I do that, I should make clear that I don't represent either project. Some of the sponsors are represented here tonight. The information shown here and included in the report comes directly from those sponsors, and I'd encourage you to direct any questions about the projects to them. Instead, I'd like to share our perspective on the projects and the opportunities they create for regional mobility and economic development. To do that, a little background. The existing Crystal City Station in VRE's Crystal City Station served about 1,900 passengers a day prior to the pandemic with a single side platform. VRE plans to replace that station with a new station that can accommodate bi-directional service, which is a key component of Virginia's Transforming Rail in Virginia initiative. The project is estimated to cost about $49 million, of which the NVTA has committed approximately $20 million, and it's expected to be complete by 2024. The Crystal City Intermodal Connector, or CC to DCA, is unique in that it was first proposed by the National Landing Bid in 2017. Less than a year later, it was one of the 5 projects that was included in Virginia's historic agreement with Amazon to bring their second headquarters to Arlington. The project sponsor, Arlington County, will launch a public planning process for the project later this spring as a first step towards federal environmental approvals. The project is currently estimated to cost about $36 million, of which the NVTA has committed approximately $18 million, and it's projected to be complete by 2028. Importantly, the federal approval process requires planners first to look at all potential options, and for that reason, Arlington has been clear that no decision has been made with regard to either the exact location of the project or the project type, whether it will be a bridge or some other type of facility, both of which will be determined as a part of the NEPA federal environmental approval process. Next slide, please. Though they were conceived independently and are currently being advanced separately, as currently envisioned, the projects would physically intersect and create one contiguous multimodal facility. As shown in the diagram, that facility would not only connect the airport to the VRE station, but also allow for easy connections to the existing bus rapid transit line that Mayor Wilson mentioned, which is currently being extended depending on city, thanks to the help from NVTA, as well as the second entrance to the Crystal City Metro Station, which is currently under design and also is funded by the NVTA, the Mount Vernon Trail, and other regional facilities. This synergy in turn creates two significant opportunities. Next slide, please. The first is to expand access to opportunity by bringing Maryland MARC commuter trains across the river from Maryland into National Landing. As shown on the map, doing so would expand the number of people within transit commuting distance to National Landing by more than 750,000 people, of whom 38% are college educated and 59% are people of color. For large employers looking to take advantage of our region's skilled workforce, this is a game changer. Likewise, for new employees in National Landing, Through Running expands access to housing by putting nearly 100,000 additional moderately priced homes within commuting distance of National Landing. JBG has been working with our partners in Maryland and the Greater Washington Partnership to promote this opportunity, and were successful recently when the Maryland legislature passed a law to require the Maryland Department of Transportation to pursue Through Running of MARC trains into Virginia. Next slide, please. The second opportunity I'd like to highlight, if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. The second opportunity I'd like to highlight, it's created by these two projects, is the opportunity to dramatically expand access to DCA by linking it with Virginia's passenger rail network, which, as you all know, is being greatly expanded by the Commonwealth Transforming Rail in Virginia program. While no decision has yet been made on whether Amtrak will serve the new station, we understand that this is being closely looked at, and we're hopeful that they will decide to serve the station in the future. Assuming they do so, the bridge is selected to connect with DCA, that would put the airport within a short train ride of the majority of the Commonwealth, creating exciting new possibilities for regional and even global mobility in the process. Next slide, please. Finally, I mentioned that my goal tonight was to share our perspective on the importance of these investments to the future of National Landing. To that end, I think we've got a video teed up that I'd like to share with you, which our marketing department released recently, to illustrate how we're sharing these opportunities with prospective partners in an effort to attract the next Amazon or Virginia Tech to National Landing. I think we have a video teed up. Margaret? Well, if not, I'm happy to answer any questions, and the link is in your packet. It's pretty exciting, I promise.
Yep, thanks for the presentation. Are there any questions for Mr. Corballis? Okay, not seeing any or hearing any. Thanks very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Good. Next item on the agenda, we begin our action items. The first item is to consider approval of the transaction and 6-year program update contract award to Cambridge Systematics Incorporated. Mr. Longi?
Thank you, Vice Chair Snyder. This item is the contract for the authority's transaction study, which includes the 2-year evaluation processes for updates to the 6-year program. This process started in December of 19 with an open house to interested contractors. A year later then, we actually issued the RFP and expecting proposals to be in December. 4 firms submitted proposals. There are teams of subcontractors within each of those 4 prime contractor proposals. The RFP evaluation team was made up of 8 members from jurisdictions, regional jurisdictions, and 1 member of the authority, for a total of 9 voting members. VDOT shared some expertise in modeling, and the jurisdictions were invited to bring subject matter experts in as well for the evaluation of the proposals. We went through a process of first looking at the technical proposals, then doing some scoring and discussion on those. After a consensus was reached for the 2 top firms, the price proposals were released, and then the evaluation team took a fresh look at things so that they could get the best value perspective on the potential proposals. Once that was done, the same two teams that had ranked highest before still ranked highest, and we entered into competitive negotiations as required by the Virginia Public Procurement Act. Those negotiations were largely directed through the input from the evaluation team. So not only did the evaluation team, which is made up of members of most of the jurisdictions, actually evaluate the proposals, but they also gave us material to go into the negotiations with in terms of team members on the contract side, contractual terms in some cases, monetary input, as well as technical input. I'm pleased to say that through multiple negotiations, we went and asked the final contractors for a best and final offer. The negotiations were able to conclude with a recommendation for Cambridge Systematics. 8 of the 9 evaluation team members voted for Cambridge Systematics. And I'm also pleased to note that we got all of the technical modifications and price adjustments that the evaluation team had recommended. What the resulting award recommendation will do is, again, I note it's consistent with what the evaluation team set us out to do. The Cambridge Systematic team furthers the authority's goal of bringing in a level of in-house modeling. With all due respect to the prior firm that did this work, they had a modeling perspective that we didn't think was as consistent with the region, especially with where MWCOG is going, with where our member jurisdictions are going. And so we think that this choice will bring us modeling that is more compatible across the region and with MWCOG TPB. This selection also brings us a modeling system that has vendor support and a wide national base of use. So I think it's going to be the right move for the authority to make at the right time. There is a risk point in this. Switching modeling systems could potentially delay the project selection scheduled tentatively for next summer. However, those projects would be funded through fiscal 26 and 27 revenue. So even if there is a calendar delay, it's certainly not going to cause a fiscal delay. With that, I would be pleased to answer any questions on the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Longi. Are there any questions or comments regarding Mr. Longi's presentation? Okay, not hearing any. One more time, anyone? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the contract award to Cambridge Systematics.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Jeanette Rischel, Manassas Park.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Mary Hines.
Thank you. The motion has been made and second. Any discussion? So again, as we vote on it, we'll assume that everyone supports it except those who oppose or abstain. I would ask for any abstentions or opposing votes. Okay, there being none, that item is passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the approval of revisions to Policy 19, local distribution 30% funds. Ms. Sen, financial analyst.
Thank you, Chairman Snyder. The authority's Policy 19 distribution was revised in December of last year to include Commonwealth Transportation Fund Transfer, that's the 20 million transfer, and the Regional Congestion Relief Fee, which is commonly known as the grantor's tax. The reason for the revision of Policy 19 in last December was to distribute the grantor's tax based on locality data. Since there's no locality data for the distribution of Commonwealth Transportation Fund Transfer, we decided to calculate a sales tax ratio for each jurisdiction to the cumulative monthly sales tax. During the recent discussion with VDOT's CFO Laura Farmer and NVTS CFO Michael Longi, Ms. Farmer indicated that Interstate Operation and Enhancement Program, which is referred to as I-81 funds, implementation was changed by the 2020 Omnibus Transportation Bill. The highlights of the changes are A, the estimated revenue decreased from 20 million to 13.3 million. And with a 30 and 70% split, it was just under 4 million for 30% distribution. B, the revenue transfer was updated from monthly to annually. However, she noted that the timing of distribution in future years would depend on the I-81 fund balance. NVTA did receive the I-81 funds for fiscal year 21 in January 2021, but this would be distributed after the authority approves the policy update. And we would potentially start making the distribution by March. And to ensure parity among jurisdictions, RJAC was briefed about it. Moving the I-81 funds from monthly transfer will result in significant loss of parity between jurisdictions based on variances in sales tax receipts on a month-to-month basis and based on the current policy wording. Looking at the chart, which is one page down. Yes. Looking at the chart, you would see that it depicts the variance in sales tax among 3 jurisdictions from October 2019 until January 2021. To ensure clarity and for better readability, we have grouped the charts by 3 jurisdictions. Now, if we look at the policy 19 attachment, which is 2 pages down, another page, please. Yes. Marked in red font. Yeah, the proposed draft moves the distribution to being based on the percentage ratio of the prior 12 fiscal months of sales tax receipts. The proposed policy change is intended and worded in this manner to address any future revenues which do not have jurisdiction data in an attempt to reduce further policy changes. Revision to policy 19 changes was approved by the Finance Committee in the February meeting. With this, I conclude my presentation and request for authority's approval. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Sen? Questions, comments? Okay, not hearing any. I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed revisions to policy 19, local distribution 30% funds. Is there a motion?
So moved, Hines.
Second, Crystal.
Thank you. Again, any discussion? Okay, so again, was there a question? Nope. Okay, so again, we'll assume that everyone is voting for this action, unless you indicate that you're voting no or abstaining. Does anyone wish to vote no or abstain? Okay, not hearing or seeing any, that item passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, which is agenda item number 9, Infrastructure for Rebuilding America, letter of support for Prince William County's Route 123 improvements at I-95, Route 1 and Old Bridge Road project. I'll recognize Ms. Backman to discuss this issue. This is a new blue item.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item was a part of the blue sheeted agenda. Prince William County is requesting the authority's endorsement of their what is called the Infrastructure for Rebuilding America Discretionary Grant Program, which is a federal grant program that was recently announced. The federal government estimates that the grant program has approximately $889 million available. They are noting that large projects must be at least $25 million. Small projects must be at least $5 million. And they are also noting that the department must award at least 25% of funding for rural projects, and infra grants may be used to fund a variety of components of infrastructure grants. Or infrastructure projects. I will note that Prince William is requesting support for their Route 123 improvements at I-95, Route 1, and Old Bridge Road. The application deadline is Friday, March 19th, so it's next Friday, and the county is anticipating that their grant application will be up to $100 million.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Backman. Chair Wheeler, do you wish to make a motion on this item?
Yes, and I'd like to begin by actually thanking for getting it on the agenda and substituting it out. We really appreciate that, given the deadline. And I know that everybody has the attachments in the letter. I would move that the authority and the endorsement of Prince William County's infra discretionary grant program application for the Route 123 improvements at I-95 Route 1 and the Old Bridge project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor Davis Younger.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Are there any questions, any comments? Okay, not hearing any. Then again, we'll take a vote on this, and unless you indicate that you're voting against it or abstaining, we'll assume that you're voting for this item. Does anyone wish to vote against the item or to abstain? Okay, there being none, that item passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, approval to cancel transfer Town of Dumfries Standard Project Agreement 2015-053-1, Widening US Route 1, Brady's Hill Road, Route 234. And keep in mind that this is a cancellation, but the next item will be to pick it up by the county. So, Mr. Longy, anything in terms of background on agenda item number 10?
Thank you, Vice Chair Snyder. As you noted, this is the first of a two-step process to transfer the project execution responsibility for the widening of Route 1 in the town of Dumfries from the town of Dumfries to Prince William County. I'll note that in the background section, the authority has committed just under $130 million on this project. There was a preliminary recommendation for the CTB to approve $50.8 million in additional funding. And I would note that the town of Dumfries and county staff have worked for several months. Route 1, as most of us know, is a very complex corridor. It has military installations. It has a lot of complexities as far as a roadway. Prince William County has already done substantial work in that corridor, and I think this is an opportunity to leverage their experience with the corridor and the complexities that it has to help the town of Dumfries. The town of Dumfries has requested this, and the Prince William County has also indicated that they are willing to take the responsibility. So with that, this first step is to cancel this project so that we can move it in the next action item to Prince William County. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Sure, thanks very much. First of all, let's put an action on the table. Entertain a motion to approve the cancellation of the standard project agreement by the town of Dumfries with regard to widening US Route 1, Brady's Hill Road to Route 234. Who would like to make that motion?
So moved, Chair Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair Wheeler. Is there a second?
Second, Rishel Manassas Park.
Thank you, Mayor Rishel. Is there any further discussion? Any questions, any comments?
I'd just like to add, it's both of the town council and the Board of County Supervisors have approved this memorandum of understanding. We think it's a great benefit for both the town and the county.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay, again, we'll take a vote on this, and unless you indicate that you're voting against it or abstaining, we'll assume that your vote is in favor. Does anyone wish to vote against this action? Does anyone wish to abstain? Okay, not seeing or hearing any. This item, again, passes unanimously. Now, the second item relating to the same project, which is the approval of Regional Revenue Fund Standard Project Agreement 2015-053-1, Prince William County, Widen US Route 1, Brady's Hill Road to 234. Mr. Longy, anything else on this?
Sir, I would just note that this action item includes, in addition to the transfer and picking up of the existing SPA, it includes making Prince William County the project sponsor for the $122+ million in remaining funding for this project. so that Prince William County can draw on that money in future appropriations.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair Wheeler, do you wish to put a motion on the table?
Yes, I move the authority approval of the standard project agreement 2015-053-01 with Prince William County and the designated Prince William County as the project sponsor for the remaining $122,863,000 as approved, but unappropriated project funding.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor Davis Younger.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, not hearing or seeing any, then again, we'll take a vote on this, and it will be presumed that you're voting in favor of it unless you vote against or you vote to abstain. Does anyone wish to vote against this action? Does anyone wish to abstain? Not hearing or seeing any of that, the item passes unanimously. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good. This is sort of Prince William night. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the City of Fairfax request for additional Transform 66 outside the Beltway concessionaire payment funding. Executive Director Bachman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be brief. Just as a reminder, on July 13th, 2017, the authority worked with localities and agencies and developed a list of projects for presentation and consideration to the Commonwealth Transportation Board for the use of the $500 million in concessionaire payment funding as part of the Transform 66 Outside the Beltway project. The City of Fairfax was awarded $13.6 million for their George Snyder Trail project as part of the projects recommended by the authority and approved by the CTB. Since then, the city has been engaged in the design process and receiving funding, and the plans that are now since receiving that funding, the plans are now at 65% design phase. So the updated project cost estimate is $17.6 million, which is approximately $3.6 million over the available funding. As such, the city is requesting the usage or additional $3.6 million in Transform 66 outside the Beltway concessionaire payment funding. There is approximately $15 million left in the payment funding of the $500 million. There's $15 million that has not been programmed. The city is requesting the usage of $3.6 million of that $15 million. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mayor Meyer, would you like to put an action on the floor?
Thank you, Chair Snyder. And I move that the authority recommendation of $3,660,000 in additional dollars in additional Transform I-66 outside the Beltway concessionaire payment funds to fully fund the George Snyder Trail project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Chairman McKay.
Okay, Chairman McKay seconds. Any discussion, any comments, any questions? Okay, not hearing any. Again, we'll take a vote on this item. If you wish to vote to oppose or to abstain, please indicate that. Otherwise, the vote will be recorded in the affirmative. Does anyone wish to abstain or vote against this item? Okay, not hearing or seeing any. This item passes unanimously. Thank you for all of the actions tonight. Now we move into some critical discussion and information items, and please stay with us. The first item is item number 13, which in this case is a good luck number, Governance and Personnel Committee work. And we'd like to hear from the committee, and especially from Ms. Bernard. And before she begins, a really heartfelt and sincere thank you to all of our state delegates and state senators and the state agency folks for a really incredibly good General Assembly session conducted in an unusually challenging environment. So a big thank you for all of us at the local level to all of you who work at the state level, and Ms. Baynard, who works at both the state and federal levels. So we'll turn it over to Ms. Baynard for any comments and any committee reports from members of the committee. Ms. Baynard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to just refer everyone to the document in your packet, which is a summary of what took place. Pages 1 through 3 really summarize some of the key policy discussions that happened at the General Assembly. Many of them focused on the role of transportation infrastructure in impacting climate, greenhouse gases, and carbon emissions. There was quite a bit of discussion about electrification of transportation infrastructure, including a bill passed by Senator Boysko, who serves on, of course, the authority board, regarding EV, electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So there are a lot of bills related to that. There was discussion on resiliency, discussions on establishing, and a bill approved to establish state standards for vehicle emissions. And then starting on page 4, or actually the bottom of page 3, some very important funding opportunities for transportation projects of interest to NVTA members, and some of which some activity that the authorities already funded. I'll draw your attention to 83.5 million dedicated to improving VRE service in the Manassas, along the Manassas line. There's money dedicated to metro needs, both for the Commonwealth to fill their funding gap for the State of Good Repair money. And then also they'll be funding hopefully as much as $10 million to help our Northern Virginia compact members of WMATA fulfill their FY22 subsidy. There's money for multimodal trails and also an effort to put together a policy around that. Transit access, $10 million to establish fare-free pilots for transit in both rural and urban communities. City of Falls Church got $10 million for a pilot project they're doing with Virginia Tech. So those are just some of the opportunities for Northern Virginia that are actually those are in the budget. The governor has until midnight on March 31st to amend, sign, or veto any of this, but hopefully the funding package will go through pretty, as this, because I think there's some great benefits from Northern Virginia in that. And at that, sir, and for time, I'll stop there and answer any questions if anybody has them.
Thank you. Do any of the members of the General Assembly that are part of NVTA wish to make any comments?
Hi, this is Jennifer Boysko, State Senate. I just want to say thank you to Tracy for all of your advocacy for our region, and just to say how happy I am with the way we were able to move things forward. So thank you all.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you so much for your work and the work of all the NVTA board members who are part of the General Assembly, and also those who are with the CTB and with VDOT and just the whole team really has scored big for our region and for the public in general. So thank you so very, very much. And we look forward to working to implement the programs and to be supportive in any way that we possibly can to achieve the success that you've intended in enacting this critical legislation. So again, thank you so much. Any other questions or comments on this item? Ms. Baynard, anything at the federal level that you wish to talk about this evening?
Not right now, sir. Still digging through the latest relief package. And I think at this point, everyone once again wants to see whether Congress and the administration can create an effective infrastructure bill and what that might mean for our region and our state. So at this point, we're going to leave it there. I know our congressional delegation on the House and Senate side have introduced a bill that would continue the PREA funding for WMATA, which has been a priority for all of us for several years now. And also, which I think we all approve, is asking for the federal government to contribute to the operating side of Metro and not just the capital side. So along with everything else on the Hill, we just have to wait and see what they're going to pay attention to and do.
Right. And if there's any opportunity for input or shaping the infrastructure legislation, please let us know. I know we have a collective experience in this area between ourselves and our staffs and the great NVTA staff. So please let us know if there's anything we can do proactive in that area.
I will.
Great. And again, thank you for your work. You've had quite a year. Any questions for Ms. Boehner or for really anyone on this report? Okay, again, thank you for everyone involved. Next item on the agenda, 14, Finance Committee report. Mayor Rischel, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance Committee last met on February 18th, and we are scheduled to meet again on March 18th. The committee voted unanimously to recommend authority approval of revisions to Policy 19 that are designed to ensure jurisdictional parity, as discussed earlier, for the 30% distribution of revenue that does not have specific jurisdictional data attached to it. The committee also received information on the transaction and 6-year program update contract and voted unanimously to recommend authority approval as discussed earlier. And the committee continued FY22 budget development discussions that were begun back in November 2020. And I would ask Mr. Longi if he has anything to add to that.
No, thank you, Mayor Rochelle. I think you've covered everything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Longi, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we need to discuss any of the subparts to the committee report, or are they adequately dealt with in the written materials?
They are entirely adequate within the materials.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you need any action on this report tonight?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. Thank you very much for your work and for your work, by the way, on the very interesting work that we're doing on transportation technology and everyone involved in that. Thank you for your work on that. Next item on the agenda, Planning and Programming Committee report. Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very, very brief. The committee did meet on March 1st. We did discuss the Transportation Technology Strategic Plan, a draft of that plan, talking about the 8 strategies that are going to be used as we go forward. I think this is it was a particularly exciting topic for the committee as we were able to talk about some of those kind of next generation technologies that help make our transportation system more efficient and more usable for the residents we all serve. And so I think we had a good lively conversation with a lot of input, and we look forward to seeing the evolution of that plan as we go forward. We meet again on March 25th. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mayor Wilson. Any questions for Mayor Wilson? Okay, not seeing or hearing any. Next item on the agenda, Planning Coordination Advisory Committee report. Mayor Colbert.
And Mr. Chair, I would note the report of the PCAC and the TAC are included in your packets as written and submitted by the committee chairs, but they are not joining us live this evening.
Okay, any questions on either of those reports for Executive Director Backman? Okay, next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's report. Executive Director Backman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I would like to note in the Executive Director's report, Mayor Wilson just noted the Transportation Technology Strategic Plan. We've been working with the TTC, the Transportation Technology Committee, on developing that plan. I would like to note that Mr. Snyder, the authority's vice chair, is the chair of the TTC. Mayor Rischel is a member, in addition to Mr. Kolb. And thank you for everyone for your participation. We have a draft of that plan. Right now, that plan is being circulated and vetted through the authorities, committees, and we anticipate asking the authority for adoption of this plan at your April meeting. Additionally, I would like to note, yesterday we had the 6th annual ITS Transportation Roundtable. while it was the 6th annual, it was our first virtual roundtable. We had it on a WebEx and YouTube platforms. We had more than 100 participants. Several authority members joined us, so thank you very much. We had 2 panels. The first panel was Smart Future, where we had Jan Lambert from the City of Alexandria, Dennis Leach from Arlington County, Chris Henry from VRE, and Jennifer DeBrule from DRPT, discussing smart futures. And on the second panel, we had Beth Agata, the Senior Managing Consultant from Transportation ICF, Chris Best, who's the Chief Deputy for the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, and Andrew Leinhardt, who's the Electric Vehicle Program Manager for Electrification Coalition. Both panels were moderated by Jordan Pascal, who's a transportation reporter for WAMU. I would say that the comments and feedback that we're getting were extremely positive. At the start of this meeting, we noted some of the polling that the participants were able to take place in. Just to note about the first panel and their discussion on Smart Future, we talked about the things that the region is using, traditional and emerging transportation technologies, whether it's ITS signals, electric buses in some cases, like the City of Alexandria, the innovative autonomous pilot shuttle, or shuttle, I should say, in the Mosaic District. So there are things that we are currently doing, and what do we want to do regarding smart technology in the future? What is a smart future? The second panel discussed a resilient future. One of the things that was noted was the transportation sector accounts for about 45% of greenhouse gas emissions in Virginia. Climate change is here. We have to mitigate the impacts, but climate change is definitely here. And we noted how the NOVA transportation system is vulnerable, and what can we do to just prevent the worst impact. So again, thank you to everyone who participated. A special thank you to my staff. We did a lot of behind the scenes work to make sure everything ran smoothly. And from the feedback we heard, it was a session, a nice session had by all. So Mr. Chairman, I will pause there before going on to my last, I guess, update, if you will. As all of you know, Ms. Cuervo is retiring. This is her last meeting with the authority. I think she's been at VDOT for 33 years, which is a long time. I won't tell your age, Helen, but you've been at VDOT for 33 years. We did want to say thank you to Ms. Cuervo for her service. She's really worked with the authority and being an excellent partner with us. I know we're calling on Helen a lot of times and trying to get some things done. She's just been an excellent partner. So while we do not see you in person, we do have something for you. I don't know if you can see this, but someone told us that you like bicycles. And so this is a woman on a bike, and word clouds of some of the projects that you've worked on and some of your accomplishments that you've had over the years. So hopefully we get to meet up with you and hand deliver this, but we would like to say thank you for your service. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Well, Ms. Backman, I want to especially thank you and your staff for the excellent roundtable. And a quick question, are the materials and the recording of the roundtable generally available? And can the high points of it be somehow made very accessible and useful for us and our staffs?
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. So the links with the presentations and the whole recording is now available. It's on the authority's website, but we can send that to you as well. Next month, we'll have a more, I guess, more of a synopsis of the high points. I just wanted to hit, I did ask for a quick turnaround from Keith, but wanted to hit some of the major points noted in the panel discussions, but we will have that information. And again, the recording of the roundtable is on the website in addition to the presentation. So I will send that out.
All right, any questions or comments from Ms. Backman? Does anyone have wish to raise or any issues or make any comments at this point? Yes, Senator Boysko.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Helen for your many years of service. As long as I've been involved, you've been involved. And I know that you were here a long time before me, but I just want to let you know how much I appreciate everything that you've done. And I wish you all the best, and just so pleased that I've had the opportunity to work with you. And I appreciate your service to Northern Virginia and to Virginia in general. Thank you so much, Helen.
Great. I'm sure everyone agrees. Any other items that people want to discuss or bring up? All right, so the last item is the chair's comments. I'll be very brief because I know we all want to hear the president. You know, I was thinking over the past year, I was thinking how lucky were our colleagues who ended their public service at the end of 2019. And then I thought, you know, they were the lucky ones, but we're the fortunate ones, because we're the ones that get to help our public through this really historic, unprecedented challenge. And we're the fortunate ones who get to help make a much better world, even than the pretty great world that we had before this. So I just wanted to conclude with that that expression. And I understand there's no closed session. Is that right, Ms. Backman? All right. There being nothing further, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second, Crystal.
And second, Mayor Rischel. Again, it'll be assumed that everybody is in favor of that unless you vote no or abstain. That item passes unanimously. Thank you all very, very much, and take care.